Hello, everybody. A heartfelt welcome to each and every one of you who has joined us today. Um, uh, Basically, we're all here with a common purpose, and this is to enhance or learn how to enhance our executive function skills in our professional lives. As we all know, the reality is that unfortunately, neurodivergence, be it autism, be it ADHD, be it dyslexia, dyspraxia, whatever the neurodivergence is, the reality is that we face challenges with our executive function skills, and the purpose of today's session is to help us enhance those executive function skills while in the workplace, because again, sad reality is that as much as accommodations are growing for people like us, this is not everywhere. So one, must keep up appearances at the office, as they say. So before we dive into these strategies and these insights that I have in store for you, I wanted to kick off things with a bit of a poll. Nothing out of this world. Basically, it's to get our brains a bit warmed up and to get our conversation started a bit. So what I do is I ask you to take a moment, read through the poll. Basically, I shall launch this actually. Basically, we are asking which working environments, which of the working environments below do you find most conducive, most helpful to work or to study? It could be quietly, the library, it could be a coffee shop. Maybe it could be comfortably at home or actually somewhere outside. So there's no right or wrong answer here. It's all about your personal preference. So I encourage you all to So I'll leave the poll for a while longer, but we do have some, I would say, fairly even responses. Maybe there are two which did not get any response yet, which is working amongst nature or outdoors. And working in a busy environment. So I don't know, in some coffee shop, for example, or some communal office. But we have some people who have selected a quiet and isolated environment. Others have selected with background noise, for example, going a bit of ambient music or sound, and some like a structured and well-organized, well-ordered space. As I said, none of these answers are right. Some of us may even mix it up. I have moments where I want to be in a coffee shop, a particular coffee shop, which I like to visit, which is pretty quiet, but at the same time, I can get my fair share of body doubling, which I find very useful. But there are moments when my hyper focus is at full attention. So I would rather, for example, be quiet at home so that no one would stop me, because once someone tries to stop my hyperfocus, I get very irritated, unfortunately. So, let me move to the next slide. So basically, our objective today is twofold. So we are exploring focus strategies to improve executive functional skills that are so essential, obviously, for success in the workplace. So whether it's planning, organizing, task management, or self-regulation, basically we all have our unique approaches and tools that work best for us. We'll also introduce some practical interventions to help manage tasks, time, and even emotions effectively in the workplace. These interventions are specifically tailored for individuals like many of us here who are neurodivergent. So as we're saying, ADHD, autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, you name it. And this session is crafted, with all of you in mind. So let's begin by taking a moment here to reflect on our own experiences and consider how enhancing these skills can make a significant difference in our daily lives and work routines. Get ready to take some notes if you want. I encourage participation. Feel free to leave questions or comments in the chat. And most importantly, the idea is to have fun, as we get on this journey of learning and self-discovery together. So, let's get into the heart of today's session. Executive functions, what are they? So think of executive functions as the command center, the let's say CPU of a computer, the brains of a computer. What do? They help us plan, they help us stay flexible, they keep our impulses in check. And it's not about simply these big things. It's also about focusing, managing time, and thinking things through before we act. But here's the thing. In neurodivergent brains, these functions might show up in different ways. Some of us might be super planners, but then find it hard to shift gears quickly. Others might have laser focus on certain topics and interests, but then may struggle to manage time effectively. Guilty as charged. So why does this all matter, obviously, at work? Well, obviously, understanding how our brains work can help us play to our strengths and find those strategies that address our challenges. It's about creating a toolkit that works for you in your job and your daily life. And as we move through today's session, remember this. Basically, our neurodivergent minds are powerful and unique, and that is something that can be celebrated. So, yes, I get it. Trust me, I get it like all of you. It can be crippling. It can cause us to get into unnecessary arguments, be late with producing certain work, but do also keep in mind that they can be powerful, unique strengths, and we should celebrate them. And with the right strategies in place, basically, we can all make sure that we thrive in the workplace. So moving on. And I wanted to start off by having a bit of an interactive activity between us and trying to discover our own strengths and challenges. So this activity basically is designed to help us discover our strengths and the areas where we might face some challenges regarding executive functions. And here is how it is going to work. So I'm going to show you a series of statements related to executive functions. And basically these statements, like the poll that you are seeing now, basically they'll touch on various aspects such as planning, task initiation, impulse control. And as we go through them, they will help us better understand ourselves and how we work best. And why are we doing this? Very simple, by recognizing the diversity in our executive functioning, we can start to appreciate our unique approaches of managing tasks, time, and attention. And basically, this self-awareness is the first step towards finding strategies that really work for us in our daily lives and in the workplace. So, without further ado, I shall end this poll and I shall launch this one. So basically, the first question is organizing tasks in order of priority is something all answers, all questions have the same three options, either something you excel at, or something that you find challenging, or something that is somewhere in between. Keep in mind, these answers are anonymous, so don't stay worrying about what your answer is. No one can see them. This is an exercise solely for you guys to help you out. The next is keeping track of time and managing deadlines. So keeping track of time and managing deadlines is something that I, again, excel at, find challenging, I'm somewhat somewhere in between. Then you have the famous procrastination. So starting a new task without procrastination is somewhat something I find, something I excel at, find challenging, somewhat somewhere in between. The fourth question is about remembering daily tasks. So remembering daily tasks and appointments is something I, again, excel at, find challenging, or I'm somewhere in between. Then we have adapting to changes in plans or schedule, again, which is something that you excel at, find challenging, or somewhat in between. So I will give time for everyone to participate. And in the meantime, I will take you to the next slide. So now it's time to look at some strategies for managing time and tasks. So managing our time and our tasks, unfortunately, is like being a conductor of an orchestra. If you want to give a bit of a visual to it. So basically every section needs to come in at the right moment for us to perform successfully. So for us in the workplace, this means organizing, prioritizing, and completing our tasks in a way that obviously not only help us reach our goals, but also keeps stress at bay and life in balance. And this is very, very, very important because let's keep in mind, we work to earn money, but we need to live as well. Work isn't all. We need to take time to switch off, reset, especially people like us, because we are more prone to stuff like anxiety and depression. So it is very, 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 very important that we do take time out from work and try to achieve that work-life balance. So for those of us who are neurodivergent, and the conventional ways of managing might not fit perfectly. That's why we are here today, to find those empowering strategies that cater for our unique way of thinking and doing things. And in the next part of our session, basically, we'll dive into some specific techniques and tools. And these aren't just about getting through our to-do list, basically, but about making the process actually work for us, turning what might be a challenge into one of our greatest strengths. So whatever basically you struggled with keeping on top of your schedule, or if you just want to find a better way to get things done, stay tuned because we're going to find those approaches that celebrate how our neurodivergent brains work on approaches that might just change the way we see our workday. So, moving to the next slide. So managing time and tasks basically is a crucial skill in our work lives. And today, basically, we're going to learn some clever ways on how to get it done a bit better. So let's start with digital planners. These aren't exactly our average calendars. Basically, it's like having a bit of a personal assistant in your pocket. I bless digital planners because there is no way I am going to remember possibly even about a meeting that's going to happen towards the end of the day. So for me to be able to plan my day, I need everything laid out in front of me. And that is why, I use digital planners. I'm able to open up my digital planner, look at the next day, see what I have coming up, see what I need to finish in terms of work. So digital planners can basically send you reminders for deadlines. They can help you schedule meetings, and they help you make sure that you're always on top of your tasks. Or else, for those of you that actually struggle to get your tasks done because of motivation, there is something which I tried for a while before I started medication for concentration. I still do actually do this from time to time, just so that I don't rely solely on my medication, and so that I can spice things up and make things a bit more fun as well. Simply because I love the way I work, and it just makes work that bit more fun. And here we're talking about gamified task lists and basically transforming your to-dos into little quests. And every time you check off something, basically it's going to feel like a little victory. So imagine, especially those of you that like playing games, imagine yourself leveling up in a game, except that obviously the game is your work day, but you are winning at productivity. And what about strategies for success? Well, there's plenty. So let's take, for example, time blocking. So it's like creating a VIP list for your tasks so that you can focus on one thing at a time without getting overwhelmed. So for example, you decide, look, between 11 and 12, I'm going to block an hour. I have these 3 tasks. I am going to attempt to get as many of them done as possible. You've blocked time in your diary, so no one can set meetings with you and stuff like that. And you basically try set yourself up for success so that at that time, you manage to get those tasks done. Be kind to yourself. Don't set yourself up for failure. If, for example, you are not the person to be able to get stuff done early morning, don't try block time out, I don't know, at 8, 9 in the morning, but try do it later on in the morning. If you're a person that straight after lunch, starts to feel sleepy, and it is the case with some, neurodivergent people, maybe try either set time up in the morning or maybe later on in the afternoon after you would have maybe even had your medication or whatever. Then there is the famous Pomodoro technique, where basically you work in short bursts with breaks in between. There is no said and done rule. You can decide to work for 15 minutes, take a 5-minute break. You can decide to work for half an hour, take a 10-minute break. It all depends on you. You may decide to work for 25 minutes and take a 1-minute break, just enough to respond to any messages you may have received, for example. One thing that I definitely found useful when it comes to the Pomodoro technique is to use something like this, which is a visual timer. I set the time that I need. And once it's done, it will vibrate. Plus, I can visually see how much time is left through the red marks. This is something which is extremely, extremely useful. I got this on Amazon because unfortunately I could not find one in Malta, but definitely, I recommend it. Basically, the Pomodoro technique, as I've been saying, is a fantastic way to keep your brain fresh and focused. Obviously, don't overdo it. You don't need to get the whole day done through the Pomodoro technique. But what I do suggest is when you do have important tasks, when you really need to remain focused, this is one kind of technique that can really, really, really help you out. So hopefully these tips will help you get ready to turn those, looming deadlines into done deals. And now let's gear up, basically, to get our tasks on track and take control of the clock and make it work for us, basically. And we will move on to focus and memory enhancement techniques. So let's turn our focus to the powerhouses of productivity: focus and memory. Now, these are cognitive functions that, in my opinion, are superstars when it comes to processing information and performing tasks effectively. And enhancing these skills can obviously lead to big wins in our productivity and learning outcomes. And let's start by chatting about mindfulness and meditation. And these aren't just, buzzwords. I used to think they were. And before I understood properly how I could use meditation in a way that worked for me, I was not, the biggest fan of it. I never used to fly its flag. But once I learned how I could use it in my favor, both mindfulness and meditation, then it started to make a lot of sense. They're basically tools that can help us to tune in into our tasks and basically improve our memory retention. And by practicing mindfulness, we train our brains to focus on the present moment, which can clear away the mental clutter that distracts us throughout our workday. So here, what are we saying? I know it is not exactly easy, but we try to literally forget everything else and just think of the task at hand. And by doing that, we will be able to focus on it more. Next, there are memory aids, and these are basically like secret codes that help us store and retrieve information. So if you're anything like me, where, as the Maltese saying says, "Moħħi passatur," my mind is a sieve. It is definitely one way to help us store and retrieve information. So whether it's through different mnemonic devices, whether it's through visualization techniques, or breaking information down into bite-sized chunks, these are tools that are all about making memorization a breeze. Something I also did, but this is for those people who, at the end of the day, you kind of need some executive function skills for this, but I like to do it a lot. Every time I had started a new job, I would open Word. I would take notes down for everything. I would then create titles, subtitles, and so on. And then through Word, I would actually create a glossary, a clickable glossary that as soon as I click on something, it will take me down to the part that I need to go to, because I know I'm not going to remember certain things. So I have them written down, and rather than having to rummage through notes and trying to figure out where everything is, I would have created that glossary that basically helps me to pinpoint where everything is that I need. So, and basically, for the grand finale, let's talk a bit about focus boosting habits. Basically, this is about creating an environment that's conducive to concentration. It might be setting aside certain hours of the day as quiet time, or using an app that keeps social media out of sight, for example, or out of mind whilst you work. It could be putting music in your headphones and basically maybe even having a sign like, "Please do not disturb." For those of you who work with colleagues that you are able to be open with, I do understand that some of you are not too keen on sharing, their challenges, and that's okay. We're not forced to, but yes, focusing, boosting habits help us a lot. Another focus boosting habit, which I forgot to mention here, is some people like to put on, and this is something I had experienced within a company I used to work with. It was a software company. Some people like to put on scents. Again, I know that certain neurodivergent individuals aren't too happy about certain scents. I'm one of them. But if it is a pleasant scent, I do feel more relaxed, and I do feel that ultimately it helps me work a bit better without feeling that need to constantly want to get up, make some water, and then make some coffee, and then make some tea, and maybe in the space of half an hour, I've gotten up 6 or 7 times. So yes, implementing basically these techniques can be a bit of a game changer, especially for those of us, those neurodivergent individuals who struggle with, focus and memory enhancement. And they can help us channel our unique strengths and help us navigate around basically any executive function challenges that we might be facing. So hopefully you are ready to boost your brain power now. And basically, let's embrace these strategies and try sharpen our focus and memory skills together, hopefully. Moving on, we will talk now about organizational skills for the workplace. Basically, organizing our workspace and our schedule is like setting up the pieces of a chessboard before a game. Basically, it sets us up for success. So good organization skills help us to structure our environment, our tasks, and our time, because ultimately they're the backbone of efficiency in the workplace. When we talk about key components, we're looking at task management, we're looking at time management, we're looking at prioritization and clutter control. And basically, it's not just about keeping our desks neat or our files in order, but it is rather about creating a workflow that allows us to tackle projects effectively and meet deadlines with ease. So you try come up with your own system that helps you, produce a project or work on a project or work on a task from start to finish, especially if it is one of those repetitive tasks. Because like that, you also, for some of us, it starts to become a routine. And when something becomes a routine, we are more than happy to start doing it. We tend to remember it more. So yes, definitely something that will help. And for us in the neurodiverse community, this kind of structure basically can be very, very, very empowering. It can help us channel our focus. It can make the most out of our energy. It can reduce that kind of stress and that disorganization brings. It is not the first time where, for example, I've had my desk completely cluttered. I just stopped, decluttered my desk, and then started working again. Because, seeing that clutter just, used to get me blocked sometimes. So let's break this down a bit more. How do we actually manage tasks? We prioritize, no? So what's urgent and important should obviously come first. Then we have time management. So we schedule and we block time for specific tasks. And then we have the clutter. So we need to keep the clutter at bay by regularly decluttering our physical and digital spaces. Yes, that also means the icons on our desktop. I, for example, am one that has the least amount of icons on my desktop because, and I have folders everywhere, so that I can try keep my digital space as organized as possible. Because when I'm trying to look for something, there's more chance I'm going to find it in an organized space than a disorganized space. Basically, by mastering these skills, we're not just obviously improving our productivity, but we are crafting basically a work-life balance that keeps us at our best, both in the office and at home. So keep these thoughts in mind as we move forward. Organizational skills aren't just about lists and labels. It is about making our day-to-day life smoother and more manageable. And if we dive deeper, sorry, yes, so we've structured our spaces. We have, we're starting with our desks and thinking of it as a command center. We're making sure that we keep it clear and just making sure that we have the essentials to make things easier for us. One thing I wanted to mention about prioritizing tasks, by the way, is the Eisenhower box. If you look for the Eisenhower box, we will send you some resource. We will be sending you some resources. But if you look it up on Google Images, you will find the Eisenhower box. It has 4 sections, and it is brilliant because you have your. I will bring up my Eisenhower box. You have your urgent and important. You have your not urgent and important tasks. You have your urgent and unimportant tasks, and you have your not urgent and unimportant tasks. And you need to make sure that whatever tasks you have, you try to put it around this matrix to help you stay further organized. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was emotional regulation and flexibility. Unfortunately, a number of us suffer from emotional dysregulation, emotional regulation. There are different ways of saying it. There are some of us that even struggle a lot with RSD. So basically, someone could say something like, I don't know, you've missed a comma in your text, and you take it as if they're telling you that whatever you've written is bad, and they're trying to always pick on you. That is not the case. We know that. That is called RSD, and there are ways to tackle that as well. So, and I feel that this is a crucial part of today's session. And basically, these are the kind of skills that will help us manage how we feel and how we respond to those ups and downs within the workplace. Emotional regulation is all about understanding and managing our feelings. It's like being basically that calm captain in a stormy sea. Whether it is a tight deadline or basically a challenging coworker, regulating our emotions help us stay focused and productive. And it could be anything from trying to talk yourself out of whatever is going on in your head. It could be literally taking a time out walking away, and then going back 5 minutes later and continuing your discussion. A little trick that I learned for those of you with ADHD. Some of us sometimes go into another room and suddenly we forgot why we're even headed into that room. If someone at work says something pisses you off, try walk out of the room, but try walk through a doorway. Walking through that doorway could possibly actually make you forget about that argument that you were even having, and you're fine, you've forgotten about it, and you move on with your day. Now, it's important to note this. Flexibility is just as important. So it's our ability to adapt to changes, like last-minute revisions to a project, or sudden shifts in our schedule. When obviously we're flexible, we can take these in stride. We can find creative ways to move forward. Obviously, again, I understand that some of us find it very difficult to be flexible, but obviously, even if there is a little bit of flexibility, it may put much less stress on you and your colleagues. So let's keep in mind basically that developing our emotional skills is not just good for our professional lives, but it is also essential for our personal well-being. And I now wanted to jump into managing our stress and our emotions, because managing stress and emotions are key to our well-being and efficiency at work. So let's talk about two powerful tools in our emotional toolkit: deep breathing and mindfulness. Deep breathing and mindfulness and structured problem solving. So deep breathing is our first tool. Basically, it's like saying, look, pause when things are getting too intense. And basically, by taking those slow, deep breaths, we will be activating our body's natural relaxation response. And you pair that with mindfulness meditation, and basically, you've got a recipe for mental clarity. These practices basically help us step back and view our stressors from a new angle. It may turn out that actually the change of the campaign for it to go out, I don't know, earlier, because that's usually the problem, may actually happen to be a good thing, because it suddenly opens a window for another campaign to be launched that was going to coincide with the previous campaign, for example. Now, then we have structured problem solving. And this method basically is like a map through the sometimes confusing terrain that we find in our workplace. And we start basically by breaking down the problems into smaller, more manageable parts. And then we focus on what we can control. We make a plan of those parts. And basically, this is important. We have to let go of what's out of our hands. If, I don't know, you have to finish the accounts, and someone else needs to needs to finish some other set of accounts. Technically, your manager needs them both for the presentation to look good so that, I don't know, your managers can stick up for you with their bosses and show that, they should keep the department rather than firing everyone, for example. Basically, what we're saying here is you have your own piece of work, your colleague has the other piece of work. If your colleague is not going to manage to get that done in time, that is your colleague and your manager's problem, not your problem to deal with. So you just focus on your task at hand, and you move forward with that. Or it may so happen that your colleague needs to rush out of the office and suddenly you need to take over some of that work. And you did not plan for that work and it's urgent, etc. So what do? You take that step back, you see all the work you have again. If needs be, open your eyes in our matrix again and shift around what you need to shift around. And that should help you out, basically. But like that, you have focused on what is in your control and what is in your hands. And basically together, these approaches will help us stay calm and flexible and ready to navigate whatever the work day decides to throw at us. So basically, it's about finding your center and staying agile. So, let's take those deep breaths, let's organize our thoughts, and let's tackle our tasks with a clear mind. And then let's explore actually, yes, we're going to explore more emotional regulation and flexibility techniques that are crucial. So basically, setting boundaries is very important for emotional wellness at work. It is about knowing your limits, being comfortable with saying no when necessary. And basically, it protects you from taking on too much and helps you to keep your stress levels manageable. Next, let's talk a bit about support, whether it's a chat with a colleague or advice from a mentor or reaching out. This is no sign of weakness, but basically a strategic move for emotional strength. Remember, there are mental health professionals. They provide expert guidance. There are groups like ADHD Malta, Dyslexia Malta, the Autism Center, for example. There are different groups there to help you out. I can definitely say and vouch for this. Ever since my initial diagnosis, one group that has definitely helped me out every step of the way, because unfortunately I got no hand holding from mental health professionals, was ADHD Malta. ADHD Malta, the president herself, is a very helpful person, and the community itself is all there to help out and set you up for success. Now, lastly, I want to talk a bit about resilience. Again, something which is not easy, but basically it's about bouncing back from setbacks with a positive outlook and learning from each experience. So by slowly building our resilience, obviously it doesn't mean you're not going to face stress, but basically it means that you will be better equipped to handle it. And together, these strategies create such a robust framework for emotional regulation and flexibility that they're not just about dealing with the now, but their investments in your ongoing professional growth and well-being. Perfect timing. So I wanted to now give some time for our Q&A or sharing session. I encourage you basically to bring any questions you have, or if any of you have any unique insights that they wish to share, by all means, go ahead. Raise your hand, I will give you the floor. Or you can type in the chat box. Basically, we're not here to just learn from this presentation. Obviously, we're also here to learn from each other. And your experiences and your strategies and your questions are only going to enrich, this understanding that we have, that we're trying to build. So I don't know if anyone has any questions that they would like to ask, or anything that they would like to share.
May I?
Yes, by all means.
The need to understand inclusion, and inclusion in its widest sense, in inclusion to include also diversity, getting the greatest potential of all individuals, being empathic, etc. So when I use the word inclusion, I use it in a very wide sense. The fact that inclusion then means something different to everybody, coming to terms then with different allowances, for want of a better word, allowances to a person to have a particular work environment, work schedule, work practice, workspace, etc. We cannot compare at all, and it's difficult from a corporate togetherness world to then bring everybody together, because it's antithetical. Trying to bring everybody together goes the complete opposite to what we were discussing. But for this to happen, you need to have everybody on board, because when everybody is not on board, even the slightest splinter group who always perhaps pass comments about a particular person who has it lightly because he can, for example, move around whenever he wishes to, etc. That then starts to become difficult to bridge different factions, different groups. So having a common understanding of inclusion is really an important start, in my opinion.
Yes, definitely. The more awareness that can be, brought up within the workplace, the more we're going to break the stigma. The more we break the stigma, the more we're going to create inclusion. And it needs to be inclusion. It cannot just be acceptance, like, oh, okay, this person is different. This person, will never talk to me, or will rarely talk to me. They're always with their headphones in ear. We'll just let them. No, understand why they are like that. Doesn't mean that they are strange. It may mean that actually they are scared of even possibly coming to talk to you. But this person may be one hell of a guru at solving the biggest of IT issues. So it is very, very, very important that yes, we do work more and work towards inclusion. Because yes, as the gentleman was saying, even the smallest of groups or group of people or person, saying, "But why is this person getting extra accommodations?" can, you know, put a splinter in everything. Sina, I'm actually going to respond to you. I was going to respond to you by typing, but I think it will be easier to respond verbally. So, yes, I do understand that getting used to digital stuff in itself can be a big stressor. One thing I definitely encouraged my mom to do, for example, was to follow a lot of videos, tutorials, where possible. Break things down in smaller tasks. Don't try learn everything at once, and learn, you know, again, this is another, you know, area where we need to learn where our boundaries are. If we are unable to do something now, rather than continuing to stress, we stop for a second, maybe we'll move on to something else, and then we try to get back to that. And there's nothing wrong in asking for help at the end of the day. And yes, as rightly so mentioned, there are actually courses nowadays, even with lifelong learning, that provide assistance with certain basic digital skills. If you look these up, you will find quite a bit around. So before I let you all go, basically, as we draw our session to a close, I wanted to reflect on what we've covered today. So we've explored various strategies to enhance our executive functions. We've looked at ways to manage stress and how to better organize our work and ourselves. Let's remember that personal growth is a continuous journey. It's about experimenting with these techniques to discover what resonates with you and what brings out our best. Basically, I'm excited also to share with you that we're putting together a digital resource hub. This will be basically a website which will include a number of tools, applications, articles that all build upon what we've discussed today. And basically, these resources are there selected to support our journey of learning and development. And I do highly encourage you to make use of them once we have launched this. And this is just the beginning. So do remain connected with us. We have, last time actually, I want to share something with you all. We do have a Facebook page that we have launched called the Neurodiversity Network. I encourage you to like the page. I encourage you to forward it to people who might find it useful. Basically, any information that we would like to be sharing about neurodiversity in Malta, especially in the workplace, you will find over here. So as I said, do stay connected. We're also planning on adding additional training sessions. So do keep your eyes open for that. There will be training sessions mainly aimed at improving certain business skills, but they will be more specific. So for example, it would be about time management specifically, or about managing finances or project management, for example. But they are sessions, they are training sessions for neurodivergent individuals put together by neurodivergent individuals who have already experienced these struggles in the workplace. So I do encourage you to keep your eye open for that. We will be following up with an email. So do look out at your inboxes, because we will share this presentation. We'll share some more resources with you as well. You know, I will share stuff like the Eisenhower matrix and stuff like that which is a follow-up to what we've discussed. And yeah, I lost my monitor there. Basically, keep experimenting, stay curious. Remember to look out for those updates and invitations through our platform. Basically, your growth is a collaborative effort. We're here to support you every step of the way. Thank you for your engagement and your insights and your willingness, basically, to grow altogether. You know, here's to taking the next steps in our journey towards our personal and professional empowerment. Thank you very much for your attendance. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Come
you.
in.